Dear 10th Standard students, I, Mrs. Alamukarthi Neeraj, with yet another video lecture. Welcome to my channel. Without taking much of your time, let me start the lecture. We'll start the lecture with the famous quote, "To err is human, to forgive is divine." If somebody who has hurt you or who has done wrong to you and he or she realizes that and asks sorry to you, then what will you do? Many of you will say have the answers that I will forgive. Many of you will say that why should I forgive? I cannot forget what he or she has done to me. But it takes strong person to say sorry and an ever stronger person to forgive. Forgiveness is unlocking the door to set someone free and realizing you were the prisoner. Forgiveness simply means loving someone enough to pursue healing instead of punishment when they have wronged you. The Lord has given you, so you also must forgive. Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving each other just as God also forgave you. When you are tempted to lose patience with someone, remember how patient God has been with you. How to forgive, love and do good to the offender. Don't speak poorly of the offender. Release them from your punishment. Don't celebrate their failures. Treat them the way you want to be treated. Stop dwelling on the past. So whatever past, you have to forgive. God has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. It is not that every human being is a perfect person. Everybody has done the mistakes. Everything is on the perception. So accordingly, if you forgive, it is the realization of yourself from the mistake, whatever the offender has done to you. So here comes the story of forgiveness, that is 1.2, The Thief's Story by Ruskin Bond. Before getting into the lesson, let me brief about the author. The author Ruskin Bond was born on May 19, 1934. He was awarded Sahitya Academy for Our Trees Still Grow in Dehra, the novel in English. He was awarded Padma Shri in 1999, Padma Bhushan in 2014, and his works were influenced in the hill stations at the foothills of Himalayas where he spent his childhood. Students, I have divided this lesson into two so that you can read easily and understand at least the outline of the story. First, let me explain the first part. The first part is from I Was Still a Thief to Pleasure of the Work, page 8 and 9. You can pause the video, read this much, and then you can come back. In the first part, two characters are introduced. In that, the first one is Anil, and he was watching a wrestling match, and this introduction of the two characters or meeting of the two characters takes part in that particular place. And this is the thief, and he was thinking that I will act to be a sincere worker and at the right time I will rob him. So to convince Anil, he has to talk to Anil. So he went to Anil and started flattering him by telling him that he looks like a wrestler. You look a bit of wrestler, for which Anil also said you also look like. For which the boy, he said, I do wrestle a bit. Then Anil asked him what was his name. The thief or the boy, he said his name as Hari Singh, and it is a lie because he want to escape from the previous employees and from the police. So he will not give his identity. So he said Hari Singh. And it is a false name. We also don't know whether it is right or wrong. Then he watched Anil for some time and he said, I want to work for you. For which Anil said, I don't earn so much, I cannot pay you. Hari asked him, can you feed me? Anil again asked him, can you cook? For which Hari lied, I can cook. So Anil said, if you can cook, then I can feed you. Then Anil took Hari to his room in above Jumna's sweet shop. It's a small room with balcony. Hari was allowed to sleep in the balcony. And that night Hari cooked food. It was so terrible. Anil had the food. He just tasted it and he fed to the dog. Then he strictly said to Hari not to come back again to him for work. Hari was very sad and in the most appealing way he tried to convince Anil and he was lingering around to work for Anil. Finally, Hari convinced Anil and Anil couldn't help laughing. He patted him on his head and said he will teach him to cook. He also taught him to write his name and also said he would teach him to write whole sentences and to add numbers. Hari was very grateful to Anil because educated man, if he becomes an educated man, there will be no limit to what he could achieve. And Hari was quite happy working for Anil. And what were the duties allotted to Hari was to make tea in the morning and he have to go and get the day's supplies every day, and from that 1 or 2 rupees he used to keep for himself. Anil made money by fits and starts. He borrowed 1 week and lent the next. And how he earned was he wrote for magazines, and Hari felt that it's a strange way of making the living. One evening, Anil bought a bundle of notes and he said that he just sold a book to the publisher. Hari saw Anil that he was tucking the money under the mattress. So many thoughts were flowing inside Hari in that he said he had been working so far for Anil and he did nothing in his line of work, that is the thief or stealing way. He had every opportunity to do so, but Anil was the most trusting person he had ever met and it is difficult to rob Anil. It's easy to rob a greedy man. It's difficult to rob a careless man. He even doesn't notice he's been robbed. So, the pleasure of work is totally out. So, that is why Hari cannot rob Anil. Let's go into the glossary, the meanings of the hard words. Wrestler, person who is adept in wrestling. In the bracket of each words I have given whether it is a noun, adjective or adverb so that you can easily identify. Terrible, it's an adjective which means awful. By fits and starts, it's a phrase in short regular intervals. Tuck is a verb to push into small space. Fairly is an adverb to a moderately high degree. Easygoing is an adjective, relaxed and tolerant in attitude or manner. Wrestle is a verb, take part in fight as a sport. Former is previous. Employer, person who employs people. Misjudged, form a wrong opinion. Stray, homeless. To hang around, wait around. couldn't help laughing, couldn't control laughing, and supplies stock or amount of something. Now the explanation of the second part of the lesson, page number 9, 10 and 11. Well, it's time I did some real work till came by itself without any effort. That is the end of the lesson. So many thoughts were going inside Harry. So he said now that it's time that he did some real work. He is out of practice. That is, his work was stealing. And if I don't take the money, he will only waste on his friends and he doesn't pay me. That was a thought going on. Then he saw Anil was asleep. A beam of moonlight stepped over the balcony and fell on the bed. I sat up on the floor considering the situation. If I take the money, I could catch 10:30 express to Lucknow. So, Harry's hands slipped under the mattresses to find the notes. When he found them, he drew them out without the sound. And Anil sighed in his sleep and turned on his sides towards Harry. He was startled and then he just crawled out of the room, and when he was on the road, he started running. In between, he slowed down and just counted that there was 600 rupees. Then he thought himself that he would live like an oil-rich Arab at least for a week or two. Then when he reached the station, he did not stop at the ticket office. He directly went to the platform and the Lucknow Express was just started, and he could even get inside the Lucknow Express because it was very slow only. But some kind of force made him stay back. He hesitated to get into the train. Harry did not get into the train, and when the train had gone, he found himself standing alone on the deserted platform. He had no idea where to spend the night. He knew nobody, and the only person he knows was the person whom he has robbed, that is Anil. Then he left the station. He walked slowly through the bazaar, and he was thinking in the short period of his journey as a thief, he studied many men's faces, and that greedy men showed fear, rich man anger, poor man acceptance. He thought if Anil finds his money is robbed, his face shows sadness for the loss of trust. Harry found himself in the Maidan. He sat on a bench. The night was very chilly and it was early November, and there was a slight kind of drizzle, and soon there was a heavy rain. And he got wet due to the rain, and he went to the bazaar and sat down under the clock tower. The clock tower showed midnight and the notes were damp. It was wet. He thought that it was Anil's money, and in the morning he would have given him rupees 2 or 3. And lot many things again started flowing in his mind, that he couldn't cook Anil's meals, or he could learn to read and write the sentences. He forgotten in the excitement that he was not able to read and write. If I learn to write sentences, I can earn more than rupees 100. It's a simple matter to steal, but to become a real big man, a clever and respected man, was something else. I should go back to Anil, only to read and write. So he understood the importance of reading and writing, the education. So he wanted to go back to Anil. Harry hurried back, feeling nervously that it is easier to steal something than to return undetected. He went to the door very quietly. He opened the door very quietly and he saw Anil was still asleep. He crawled near to Anil and tried to keep the money under the mattress again. Next day morning, when Hari woke up, Anil had made tea. Anil stretched out his hands to Hari. There was a 50-rupee note in between his fingers. Hari's heart sank. He thought he had been discovered. But Anil said, I made some money yesterday and I can pay you regularly. Hari's spirit rose, that is, he became hopeful. But he took the note and it was still wet. Then Hari understood that Anil knew everything but showed nothing, that Anil forgave Hari. Anil said nothing and said, today we will start writing sentences. He neither asked about the money, how it became wet, how it was kept under or whatever. He understood that Hari was a thief. But since Hari realized, he forgave Hari and he gave him good education to Hari. Glossary or meaning of hard words. Deserted, empty of people. Drizzle, light rain falling in fine drops. To get away, to escape. Damp, slightly wet. Undetected, undiscovered. Clouded, covered with cloud. Spirits rose, became very hopeful. To come by itself, naturally without effort. To feel for something, to examine by touch. Heart sank, felt depressed. That's all about this lesson. Hope you all understood about the lesson. Thank you so much. If you have any doubt, you can give it on comment section. Do not forget to like and share the video and subscribe my channel. Thank you very much.